7 The Eagle, LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off is a public interest forum that encourages your voice to be heard on the topics and issues impacting our local communities. For the next 30 minutes, we invite you to be part of the conversation by calling 219-362-0522. And you can now text your questions to the Liquor Vault on-air line or by email to soundoff@967theeagle.com. This is a topic-based program, and we ask that you keep your comments brief, concise, and related to the topic being discussed. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the hosts or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media LLC, or the sponsors. The Liquor Vault on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. This is Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Sound Off. Today is Monday, October 10th, 2022. We are just 4 weeks and 1 day until Election Day, and we have another episode for you about candidates that are going to be on your ballot. If you have a question today, you're welcome to call in to the show. No, don't call in. Sorry, I just gave you the wrong advice already. Hey, Hey, listeners, wait. It's my birthday. You're going to give me a mulligan on that one. All right. Don't call. You're going to be mad at me. I'm going to get the negative messages like I do after the show. Why don't I take calls? We're not taking calls. All right. We're taking texts. 219-362-0522. 219-362-0522. Or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. I'm glad to be here today, guys. It's going to be a fun show. We've got two great candidates in the studio with us today. State Representative for District 9 candidates, which, again, if you're in the west part of the county, these are probably going to be the candidates that are going to be in your ballot. Michigan City, I think going down to Westville as well, is it?
Not anymore.
No, okay, not anymore. I know the redistricting happened.
Yeah.
Just Cool Spring Township.
Cool Spring Township. We've got Republican Dion Bergeron and Democratic incumbent Pat Boy with us in the studio. If you have a question, again, text me. Don't call me. 219-362-0522 or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. Good to have you guys both here today. I'm so glad you're here. We'll start with you, Pat. Explain to our listeners a little bit who you are and why you're running for re-election.
Okay. Actually, the first time I ran for this, it was because I was talked into it. But now there's things I've been trying to do, and I want to keep pushing on them. I've been in Michigan City since 1978, bought my house in 1979, and I still live there. My son and my grandson live with me because they were worried about me after my husband died. I've been alone exactly 1 month in my life because I'm the oldest of 8 kids, and there was always people in my family that were around. I've been working a lot on environmental issues like coal ash and wetlands, and so far I haven't gotten them done, but the last year the chairman said he was going to ask for a summer study on coal ash, but the legislative rules committee decided not to do that. I'm going to try again. We'll see how far we go.
All right. Dion Bergeron running again for this office as a Republican. Dion, introduce yourself to our listeners and why are you running?
Sure. Obviously, my name is Dion Bergeron. I'm running because I don't feel represented. I do believe that the incumbent is doing the best she can for her party. I have a different view. I was a truck driver. I was a correctional officer. I know what blue collar is screaming for. And right now, while I am pro-environment and I want to fix coal ash as much as the next person, people are less worried about that when they can't feed their family. They can't put gas in their car. They don't have money in the bank. That's what I'm about, and that's what I'm running on. We have to fix the economy. If we don't take care of that, it won't matter because there won't be clean water. You won't be able to afford it.
All right, let's get to questions. We'll start this one with Dion and then go to Pat Boy. If you want to respond, just put your hand up and I'll make sure we get to you for that. All right, the first question we have is about abortion in Indiana. There's a question about criminalizing women who willingly receive abortions and the medical professionals that provide them. Now, the state of Indiana, obviously, after Roe v. Wade got overturned, had their own legislative priorities for that. And so the question is do you support exemptions for rape and incest for abortion? And we'll start with Dion.
Okay. I want to say that the way that the bill is currently written, I'd have voted no on it. I do support certain exemptions, and I will say I am wholeheartedly opposed to criminal penalties for anyone for a decision that they make. That's just...
Is that for medical professionals too?
Absolutely. I mean, there are ways to go about this without throwing people in jail. This is a subject that is near and dear to many people, and I understand that. While I may have a different view, I am pro-life. Exacting criminal penalties on someone is just way too far. We're going in the territory of a place that I don't want to live. And America is a live and let live country. That's what our state's about. That's what the country's about. I would not support criminalizing a woman who is making, I'm sure, a very tough decision and going after her.
So as an additional question for that, so you said you wouldn't have supported it. Now, candidate Boyd didn't support it as well,
Right.
but I'm going to guess for different reasons.
Right.
What would you have liked to have saw in the legislation?
For one, I don't agree with the limits that are put. The way that it's written, it could easily criminalize ectopic pregnancies. That's unheard of. It's ridiculous. Again, I'm pro-life, but ectopic pregnancy has no chance of being viable. It is not a pregnancy. It is a medical procedure that needs to be taken care of. And legislators are going to say, well, we'd never do that. We've heard we'd never do that from three-letter agencies since the beginning of their creation. We'd never do that. It's important to write the legislation in such a way that it prevents it from being misused in that way.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. Pat Boyd, you did not vote for this, and explain to us a little bit. Obviously, you would support exemptions for rape and incest.
Yes.
But explain to us what kind of legislation you would like to see for abortion in Indiana.
We already had a working abortion bill. Abortion law in the state. This is a lot more extreme. The issues are, there's several issues. First of all, I'm pro-life, but I'm also pro-choice because I can't make that decision for other women. We have freedom of religion in both the Indiana and state and federal constitution, and we have freedom of choice in the Indiana Constitution. And we also have a thing that says that no law shall be made that affects only one class of people. This only affects women. And there are no similar bills that affect men. So it's really affecting only one population. That's a problem. And even though they say that this is not based on religion, almost every person that came and talked about it talked about religion, including the legislators. And when we had the beginning of COVID and we were asked to wear masks, they wouldn't wear masks because bodily autonomy. You can't make me wear a mask. You can't make me get a shot. But they're making women go through pregnancy that they can't or shouldn't or don't want to continue. And I think that's a big problem, I think. It's like a contradiction of terms, a kind of a hypocrisy almost.
All right. Quick response by Dean.
Yeah. I find it funny that you use the word hypocrisy because we have a party that says not only women can get pregnant. Do you agree with that? That there are multiple genders that can declare themselves pregnant? Or is it only a women issue? And if it's only a women issue, then does my body, my choice actually mean it's only restricted to women and we shouldn't be able to decide whether we can wear masks or what our medical decisions are?
Real quick, that was a question given by the people we can't.
Okay, I understand.
Let's keep to the questions being asked by the listeners and by myself.
Okay.
All right, but we can get to some gender identity stuff if you'd like to later. All right, let's get into the next question: marijuana legalization in the state of Indiana. Many of our neighboring states have legalized marijuana, including the state of Michigan and Illinois. I don't know if Ohio has yet, but I think it is medically. Where do you stand on Indiana going to marijuana legalization? This will obviously be a probably legislator type of decision. We'll start with you, Representative Pat Boyd, and then go to Deanne Bergeron.
In my first year in the House, I actually introduced a bill for medical marijuana, and that was not heard. Karen Talion, Senator Talion, had tried it many times, and it was not heard. I think the governor has said that he will not he will not sign a bill for marijuana in Indiana until the federal government delists it from the Schedule I drugs. It does not compare in any way to fentanyl and heroin and cocaine. It grows on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. It's a weed. That's why they call it weed. I think it would bring down crime a little bit, or maybe even a lot, if it was legalized, because then you could buy it legally and people wouldn't go to jail for it. And you knew you were getting something that was safe and not cut with something else. I think it wouldn't be a bad thing, and I think it would contribute to the tax base enormously, and we would stop losing all that money to other states for people who go there.
All right.
And decriminalizing it would be even better.
All right, let's go with candidate Bergeron. What did you think about marijuana legalization?
Well, in 2020, I was actually endorsed by Indiana Normal, one of the few Republican candidates to be endorsed as such. I am wholeheartedly for the medicinal use of it because we have veterans, we have people who are struggling. Her and I actually agree on this. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for it to be on the same level as fentanyl, as cocaine, as heroin. That's astronomically ridiculous. As for recreational use, I actually like how Michigan did it. They left it up to their communities. They left it up to Benton Harbor whether they wanted it. They left it up to, like, for example, New Buffalo, you can't get it, but you go a little bit further into like Three Rivers, you can get it there. It's up to the community. I'd like to see something like that in Indiana.
All right, thank you so much. We've got candidates for State Representative District 9 on the show today. Republican Dion Bergeron's running against Democratic incumbent Pat Boyd. If you have a question, again, you can text me 219-362-0522 or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. We're going to take our first break of the day and be right back here, only on 96.7 The Eagle.
Hi, I'm Connie Grammarosa, and I'm running for commissioner because I care about our county. As a current council member, I've questioned the large expenditures that go through as emergency purchases when indeed they should be routine maintenance. While making financial decisions, I put you, the taxpayer, first. My opponent used your tax dollars to install mute buttons in the commissioner's meeting room to mute you, the taxpayer. I will make a motion to have them removed. I will strongly advise that we have public comment not only at the beginning of meetings, but at the end, giving you the opportunity to voice your opinion. One of the commissioner's duties as CEO is to oversee the day-to-day operations. Some will argue it's a part-time position. I pledge to be a full-time commissioner. I'm Connie Grammarosa, and I'm asking for your vote on or before November 8th. I'm Connie Grammarosa, and I approve this message.
Hey, LaPorte County, Surf's fiber internet is more reliable and 25 times faster than cable. Get 1 gig speed and 2 free Eero whole home Wi-Fi routers for only $65 a month. No contracts and free installation at a price that's locked for life. That's right, the price you pay today won't jump up each year like cable. They are expanding to more neighborhoods every day. Visit surfinternet.com to check your address or call 844-955-SURF for details. That's 844-955-SURF. This is a limited time offer and restrictions may apply.
Hi friends, Chief Deputy Ron Heeg here and your Republican candidate for LaPorte County Sheriff. I'm a 25-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office, starting my career within the jail, working my way through the ranks to my current role of having the honor to serve as Sheriff Boyd's Chief Deputy. My campaign consists of 3 strategic goals: public safety, personnel investment, and community investment. I'm married to my wife Heather, and we live in Kankakee Township with our daughters Olivia and Allison. I humbly ask for your vote on or before November 8th. Paid for by Heeg for Sheriff.
Vote Fagan 2022. Who is Sean Fagan? He's a lawyer. He's a Republican. Sean Fagan, running for LaPorte County Prosecutor 2022. Sean Fagan knows that LaPorte County is a great place to live, and he wants to keep it that way. Sean Fagan for LaPorte County Prosecutor 2022. Be safe. Be strong. Let's work together. Vote Sean Fagan 2022. This message paid for by Fagan for Prosecutor.
Michiana weather. 71 this afternoon under clear skies. Southwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 46 tonight. 72 tomorrow. Chance for scattered showers. From the Weather Center at hometownnewsnow.com. Right now, 68.
Thank you for tuning in to Sound Off. You can now text or email your questions directly to the studio. Call or text 362-0522 or email your questions to soundoff@967theeagle.com. This is Sound Off.
Welcome back, friends. You're listening to Sound Off. We're continuing our election coverage, having candidates that'll be on your ballot this November in the studio so you can meet them a little bit and hear what their platforms are so you can be a more educated voter when it comes to the ballot box. Now, tomorrow is your last day to register to vote in Indiana. You can go to indianavoters.com, I believe, and you can register if you want to check your registration as well. And early voting starts on Wednesday. So we got State Representative District 9 candidates in the studio with us today, Republican Dion Bergeron and Democratic incumbent Pat Boy. It's a joy to have you guys here. Let's talk a little bit about environmental stuff. You had talked both about coal ash, and the question is do you support, we'll start with Dion here and then go to Pat. Do you support reducing government regulations on the private sector, including governmental regulations that allow more development around lakes and waterways?
In general, I support smaller government, but when we're dealing with environmental regulations and when we're dealing with things that affect our water supply, that affect our children, I think we have to be very careful about reducing the amount of oversight and the amount of government restriction, or the opposite of that. Make sure that people are safe. I am wholeheartedly in favor of making sure that our water is safe, that our ground is safe. The coal ash is a problem. I don't want to see government regulations rolled back to allow companies to run roughshod over the health of our children and our communities. The opposite of that is what we need. We need more oversight to a degree, again, specifically on environmental issues.
So if I clarify, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not opposed to some regulation, but you need to see what the regulation is?
Right. I am in favor of something that reduces pollutants into our water. Now, I don't want over restriction so that companies are unable to do their job and they go out of business. But at the same time, the health of our children, the health of our community is extremely important. And I am wholeheartedly in favor of cautiously and carefully legislating the necessity to take care of that.
All right. Representative Pat Boy, I'll give you the same question. Do you support reducing government regulation on the private sector, including environmental regulations that allow more development around lakes and waterways?
Only if they have some kind of attention to how they're building around those lakes and waters. There should be some restrictions because wetlands control flooding, they control water that gets into the ground, they protect our wells, our water supply. And if you don't have some kind of restrictions, people will take advantage of it. They'll build around it, they'll destroy the wetland, and then they'll wonder why their basements are flooding. It doesn't make a lot of sense to not have some kind of restrictions. And if you don't do it statewide, it's not going to happen any place really, except for maybe a couple communities that know the dangers of getting rid of the wetlands. There was a bill last year, was it last year or the year before, from the Senate that was it was in 2020. Yeah, 2021. I don't know what year it is anymore. That to get rid of the wetland protections all together, just all of them, none of them. And that would mean, the big watered, the obvious wetlands. But ephemeral wetlands are the ones that exist only when you have a lot of rain. They hold it back long enough that it's not going to flood the rivers. And if you get rid of those, you have more water going straight into the rivers and going straight out into the lakes and straight out into the ocean or whatever. We don't have to worry about the ocean here, but everything we do here eventually gets there.
All right. A question for you, Pat Boy, next. You had mentioned that you have not gotten any legislation passed yet. This listener wants to know, again, having a representative down in the state, what is it that you are doing other than getting legislation passed?
I've made amendments to some bills. I have spoken in committees for or against bills, depending on what they were. I work behind the scenes a lot to get more information on what I'm doing so that I can maybe make the bill better next year. I plan to resurrect my coal ash bill. I've done a lot of other bills besides environmental. The medical marijuana, for instance. I had one for bias crimes. I had one for... I have a list here. I'm not going to get it out. It's long. For when police take kids out of school because they've been causing problems, when they take them out, they have to notify parents or guardians or whoever's got the emergency call. But sometimes that doesn't happen. I was at an NAACP meeting, and at least 3 people at that meeting said that their kid was taken to jail and they did not know about it. And they found out from one of their friends, their kid's friends. Hey, I hear your kid's in jail today. That's kind of a problem, but that didn't go anywhere either.
All right. We're going to get to candidates today, some more candidate questions. We've got Republican Dion Bergeron and Democratic incumbent Pat Boy running for District 9 in the state representative race. Here's a question for you, Dion. Should teachers be allowed to bring guns into the classroom after passing gun safety training?
It's a great question, and I think that should be up to the individual communities. I am very much a community-driven legislation type of person. What works in Carmel doesn't work in Michigan City. What works in LaPorte doesn't necessarily work in Chesterton. Communities should be able to decide that. Now, I am wholeheartedly and, with 100% of my being pro Second Amendment, pro United States and Indiana Constitution, all of it. You can't pick and choose what parts of the Constitution you like, but it should be up to the community. If they want their teachers armed, then they should be able to do so. I'm less excited about that on a statewide level because, as I said, communities are different.
So let the school boards decide, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, school boards and more importantly, their local communities.
Gotcha.
I would like to see referendums for that. I'm very much a community-driven legislator. Yep. Tell me what you want and I will make it happen. But as a statewide legislator, we're deciding on things that affect the entire state of Indiana. Our goal should be representing District 9 to the best of our ability. We want to do what's best for District 9, but we're doing things that affect the entire state. So we got to be really cautious.
All right. Thank you. Pat Boy, I'll give you the same question. Do you believe that teachers should be allowed to bring guns into the classroom after passing gun safety training?
I don't think it's a good practice because I don't think that one gun in a teacher's hands is going to stop somebody with a military rifle. But I think if a town wants it to happen, if everybody in the town agrees, I don't think it's something that you can say, we can't do that. We do have the right to protect ourselves and to protect others if we need to. I have a problem with just saying teachers can take guns into school. They have to have them locked up somehow so kids can't get at them, or have the kind of lock on the gun that only they can work the gun. The big thing about the constitutional carry is that you can carry a weapon, but they took away the permitting for it. So now the police don't know who's got a permit and who doesn't. So they don't know what they're walking up to when they go to a car. I think the same thing could happen with a school. They find teachers every once in a while, or school employees who kind of go off the deep end, and I think that it's not general. It's really not. Their teachers they're their very best with everything. I think making them be the police in the school can be really dangerous.
All right. Dion, a response.
Yeah, just real quick. We've seen evidence after evidence that gun-free zones don't work. Criminals don't care about the law. I worked at Indiana State Prison for a number of years. It's the most secure gun-free zone in the state, and people still hurt each other. They still find ways. When you're talking about protecting children, I think we need to look at all the options, and gun-free zones are not a viable alternative to actual defense.
Would both of you, and we'll start with Pat, then go to Dion here, then, the police have talked about increasing in budgets for more school resource officers. Would you support that then and get more school resource officers in each school? Because right now, for instance, we've got maybe one in between multiple schools in LaPorte, one, these kind of things. So would you support funding more school resource officers to keep kids safe?
I would. I think we have 2 in Michigan City, and they travel from one school to another too. And that's really not enough to have an effect in every school. But they don't have a regular schedule, so nobody really knows where they're going to be when they're going to be there, which is a good thing.
All right. Dion, I'll give you that same question. Would you support school resources?
Absolutely. Our school resource officers are some of the best individuals on the departments, and they're some of the best individuals that they learn the students. When they start acting weird or strange, they have the senses to pick up what's going on and to enact what they need to do in order to protect the other students. I would absolutely increase the funding for that and find out what the communities need for me to make that happen.
Sure. All right, we're going to take our final break of the day and be back here for another about 15-minute segment of Sound Off. If you have a question, you can text me to 936-20522 or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. We've got candidates for State Representative District 9 in the studio, Republican Dion Bergeron and Democratic incumbent Pat Boy. It's a joy to have you guys both in the studio. We're going to take our final break of the day and be right back here on 96.7 The Eagle.
You wouldn't sign a contract without reading it. So why are our elections certified before we completely audit them? Currently, only 5 out of 92 counties get audited at the end of each election cycle, but the results don't get reported. I'm Jeff Moorer, and I'm running for Indiana Secretary of State. As your Secretary of State, I want you to have a receipt for your vote, an independent audit of all 92 counties, and impartial election results you can trust. I will champion Hoosier small businesses so our entrepreneurs can build their dreams and feed their families. Hoosiers deserve a Secretary of State they can count on. This November, vote for me, Jeff Moorer, for Secretary of State. Call or text me at 317-721-6438 or visit moorerforindiana.com. I'm Jeff Moorer, and I approve this message. This announcement paid for by Moorer for Indiana.
Hi, this is Andy Heineck, candidate for LaPorte County Sheriff. As a military veteran and a 22-year member of the Sheriff's Office who has worked in every division, I believe I have the experience to be your next sheriff. My goals once elected are reduce recidivism amongst the inmates, expand our mental health services, and focus on the heroin epidemic. I've dedicated my life to serving our community, and I'm asking for your support. Please vote Andy Heineck for sheriff. Paid for by the committee to elect Heineck sheriff.
Hello, I'm Sheila Brilson Matias. I'm running for re-election for your LaPorte County Commissioner. You know, experience matters, and as a 2-term mayor, a teacher, and a business leader, I have what it takes to be your voice at the table. I negotiated hard with Blue Chip and other major companies on your behalf. I've kept a sharp eye on your tax dollars and brought thousands of jobs to our LaPorte County. I've done it before, I'm doing it now, and I know how to do it again. I'm proud to be known as a go-getter, a team builder, and a straight shooter who's focused on getting things done. You know me. I've lived in LaPorte County for more than 35 years. I've raised my children here. You've seen me and chatted with me at games, at our festivals, at the grocery store, and even at the gas pump. This is Sheila Brilson Matias, and I would appreciate your vote for re-election as your LaPorte County Commissioner on November 8th. Paid for by the committee to re-elect Sheila Matias.
Free checking, free debit cards, free online banking, free direct deposit, and free bill pay. These are just a few things that LaPorte Community Federal Credit Union has to offer its members. Auto and recreational rates are falling like the leaves. Get behind the wheel of a great deal. Check out our website and apply for your loan today at laportecfcu.com. We have been serving the community for over 80 years, have 3 convenient locations, and one goal. That is to continue to help make LaPorte Community Federal Credit Union work for you. LaPorte Community Federal Credit Union, member NCUA.
Your opinion matters. We invite you to share it by calling or texting the Liquor Ball on-air line at 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back, friends. Good to have you with us on our final segment of Sound Off for today, October 10th. We've got your candidates in the studio today, and we're getting a little bit broader, little statewide kind of candidates. State Representative District 9 candidates, Republican Dion Bergeron facing Democratic challenger Pat Boyd. And we've been talking about different issues that you have. If you've got a question, 219-362-0522. You're welcome to text me or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. I have lots of questions that have come to me either on Facebook or whatever. Here's a couple more questions, and I believe, is it Dion first, I think, right now? We'll start with Dion. All right. All right. This is a question about, again, kind of education, but also as anti-discrimination stuff. There was a discrimination law. I think Senator Bahachik was involved with it a couple of years ago. Do you support the inclusion of sexual orientation in Indiana's anti-discrimination laws to protect LGBTQ Hoosiers? We'll start with you, Dion. That was not included, I think, in Senator Bahachik's bill. Yep.
Okay. First of all, the bill, I believe, is Title IX, and they're talking about the division of men's and women's sports, or boys and girls sports at that level. And there are biological differences between biological men and women. That's why they can tell the difference with skeletons. It's important that it be an even playing field. So I am in favor of the separation of men's sports and women's sports and retaining it that way. I do want to say, though, I have family members who are part of the LGBTQ plus community. It's not my job to out them. I'm not going to tell who they are, but I love them. I care about them. I may not agree. But I'm going to do what I can to protect them and give them as many equal rights as we all have.
Yeah, I want to get back to the question real quick, because we will. I think the Title IX is an important question as well. But the law, the anti-discrimination laws in Indiana do not include LGBTQ Hoosiers. Would you support the inclusion of that in the law?
No, okay. I wouldn't.
All right, thank you. Pat Boyd, I'll give you the same question. And again, if you want to comment on the Title IX stuff, because again, that is a relevant topic. Do you support the inclusion of sexual orientation in Indiana's anti-discrimination laws to protect LGBTQ Hoosiers?
Yes, I do. I don't think people have a choice in what gender they feel they are. I don't think people are groomed to become this. I know a lot of people who are gay and have had a long struggle with it because they were told that they shouldn't be. But it's who they are. We don't control who they are. God doesn't make mistakes. So these people they're humans. They deserve the same treatment as everyone else. And as far as the Title IX bill that we had, it was directed only to girls on girls' sports, transgender girls on girls' sports. There was nothing mentioned about transgender boys on boys' sports, and there was no the NCAA and the Indiana. The IHSAA, Indiana High School Sports Association, also have rules already to test for hormone levels and things for transgenders. They have rules that apply, and this bill was not needed. And there were some other things in there, and I sent a letter to the governor about it, and he vetoed it basically for the same reasons I was talking about. And it was overridden by the House and the Senate.
All right, a question for you, Pat Boyd. Just a couple minutes left on the show, and then we'll get to Dion after that. There are reports of increased crime in Michigan City. We did talk about that in our prosecutor. And again, it's a little nuanced. Violent crime doesn't seem to be increasing as much, but theft, these kind of things, and those statistics have gone up. What are you doing at the state level to ensure that citizens are protected and that police receive adequate and increased funding?
We are working on trying to get more funding for police. I think we need to work on fire as well, because they are often affected by crime when they're out to fight a fire in different areas. But there has been movement to increase the funding and increase the amounts you can put into their retirement funds and things like that, and for mental health for them, because that's a really big need for them.
All right, Dion, is there any ideas that you have for also improving crime in Michigan City?
Sure. As a former law enforcement officer myself, I support law enforcement and first responders. My party never screamed defund the police. We had the opposite So we need to support these people in our communities. We need to sit down with them. We need to find out what they need. It's more important than passing statewide legislation. We can bring attention to what is needed to change in our communities. That's our goal. It should be, at least it should be, to represent District 9 first.
A question for you about education. We'll start with you, Deanne, then go to Pat. Sorry. Do you support funding for charter schools?
I support anything and everything that will allow a child to get the education that they need to succeed. We have a brain drain in this county. We are losing people. And we have to think outside the box. The short answer, I will support anything that improves the test scores, anything that improves the performance, and anything that keeps the people that graduate from our tech schools and our colleges, that retain them here. I homeschool my child because public school was not a good fit for him. His older brother graduated from LaPorte High School. Different children require different methods, and I'm all for supporting what the children need.
Publicly funded charter schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Pat Boy, I'll give you that same question. Do you support state funding for charter schools?
It's already happening. I don't think we can take it away, but I don't think we should keep increasing it each year when we don't increase the public schools equally. And the voucher system is also eating away at the money that's available for the constitutionally required public schools. They consider some of the charter schools are considered public schools. Some of them are not. And the ones that are not are getting the same funding out of the same pool that's supposed to go to the public schools.
All right. Here's a question. Will you listen to our grievances with the local government seriously and see that they are given to the appropriate state agencies? I'll start with you, Pat.
I do. When I get questions from people all the time that address state agencies, and my legislative assistant is so good. He's just so helpful at finding the right person that we need to talk to. I've helped several people just this summer with tax issues or property issues. And sometimes I get requests for things that are federal level. And then we try to move it up to somebody who is at the federal level that can address it, like the IRS or, any of those. I do that.
All right, I'll give you that question, Deanna, as well. Will you listen to our grievances with the local government seriously and see that they are given to the appropriate state agencies?
Absolutely. I've made myself available for video chat at any time. I do a podcast, a video podcast, where you can come on and you can talk directly to me. It's not through an assistant. It's not through a chain letter. You talk to me directly, and I deal directly with you, and we can make it happen together. That's what community government's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be citizen legislators that listen and go in and actually get things fixed.
All right, we're going to get to your final statements here in a second, but I want to thank our listeners so much for listening to this. If you ever miss an episode of Sound Off, you can go to the hometownnewsnow.com and listen to the podcast, or just subscribe on Apple or Spotify, wherever podcasts are found. We've got a lot of good candidates coming up as well to introduce you to. Hopefully we'll get some time for some other local candidates, maybe school board if we can, to give you enough access so that you can be informed going into the ballot box. Do not forget that early voting starts soon, so the end of voter registration is tomorrow. Check on that just to make sure that you're registered to vote and all that is squared away, so that when you want to vote, whether it's early or on election day, your vote will matter and count. All right, we're going to get to final statements. I'll start with Representative Pat Boyd, the incumbent, and then get to Deanne Bergeron. Pat Boyd, what do you want our listeners to know? Why should people vote for you?
I was on the city council for 15 years, and I was talking about retiring. I was asked to run for city council in the first place. Then I was asked to run for this seat. I had no plan ever in my life to be in politics. As a matter of fact, politics is the worst part of the job. I really want to make a difference for people individually and in small areas. I want to make a difference for my community, but I also have to represent the entire state. I've got to make one comment about something that was said before, and it was not an error, but we cannot do a referendum for ideas or for laws. We can only make it for taxes and things like that. That's just, I mean, because we wanted to do one for the abortion issue as well, and that you can't do that, unfortunately. Some states can. That's in our Constitution. I really appreciate you having us on today. I will do my very best this session, if I'm elected, to bring forth the bills that are needed to try and help individuals and local communities, and keep on keeping on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dion Bergeron. I'll give you a final word here. What do you want our listeners to know, and why should people vote for you?
Sure. Again, my name is Dion Bergeron. I love to talk to the people when I go out door knocking, when I have my videos. People come on and they talk to me, and the number one thing on people's minds right now that I've heard, bar none, is the economy. That's what matters. That's what people are focused on, and that's what I want to help you with, whether it's through tax reduction, whether it's through allowing your business to actually thrive. That's what I'm about. I was a truck driver. I was a correctional officer. I have real world experience in these things. And these are all critical issues in our district. Indiana State Prison is part of our district. Again, you can learn about me at dionbergeron.com or visit my podcast at Dion's Daily Dose. On YouTube, you can find me at Dion for Indiana. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, both of you guys. It's been a joy to have you in here, for you guys to share your platforms and talk about your beliefs. Good luck to you both. And again, we'll be back on Friday for another episode. We've got state Senate candidates on the show then, and you'll learn a little bit more about them. I want to thank you so much for listening.